So I would like to thank everyone for making time this morning to come to our CCS member update. It has been a minute since we've had a member update, and I'd like to thank Deborah for encouraging me to get it on the schedules. Thank you, Deborah. My name is Rebecca Malinowski. I'm the Executive Director of CCS, and I am very excited to be here chatting with everyone today. We have a lot on our agenda. I want to make sure that we
Hello, I
have the
can't figure out why I can't hear anything in Zoom.
Oh, Karin, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, thanks. All right, bye.
Bye. All right. So we have our agenda here. We've got our welcome and introductions that we're starting now. And there we go. We also are going to do a very high-level overview of our current CCS projects. We're going to hear a little bit about what's going on with Innovative and Polaris and development. And we're going to talk about CCS training and events. And we should have some time at the end for questions. I do want to take a minute here at the beginning to say that 2024 is an exciting year for CCS. CCS was established in 1974 with 6 libraries: Cook Memorial, Glencoe, Indian Trails, Northbrook, Warren Newport, and Zion Benton. So CCS has been kicking for 50 years, which is a long time. There's been lots of opportunity for growth and change in our membership and among our staff. And throughout that time, we've preserved our mission of resource sharing, efficiency, and technology for our libraries. Today, we are 31 members and have an expert staff with diverse skills and interests. And we don't always get a chance to have face-to-face time with our member library staff, both due to geography as well as global events. So I do want to take some time and ask our staff this morning to each introduce themselves. So I will start, and I'm going to ask everyone, in addition to their name, title, and what they are kind of experts at CCS, to also share a walk down memory lane with us. So their best CCS memory, maybe a library memory, something awesome about working at CCS, just because I'm excited for 50 years and I want to, throughout this year, take some time to celebrate CCS's history. So again, my name is Rebecca. I am the Executive Director at CCS. And I think my favorite CCS memory was our go live day for our migration from Symphony to Polaris. Oh boy, it was a stressful day, but there was a real feel of like teamwork and camaraderie. We were at the office really early. Beth brought us snacks. And it was just a really exciting time where, months and months of work from CCS staff and library staff culminated in what I used to say was like pressing the big red button. And it wasn't a perfect rollout, but it was good. It was, our team did an awesome job. Library staff did an awesome job. And it was just great to have that feeling of kind of collaborative accomplishment. So I'm going to pass it along to CCS staff. Don't forget to unmute yourself. And Beth, why don't you go next?
I can go next. I'm Beth Stormbrenner. I am the operations manager. I've been with CCS since the end of 2015. You can contact me for, I'd say, almost anything non-library related. The member of CCS without the degree, but you can contact me for billing questions, any updates for our website or directory or library contacts, as well as just in general, anything governance or administrative related to CCS. Rebecca stole my thunder. I was going to say that Polaris Go Live was my favorite moment of CCS history, but I will say that what I think is most awesomest about working at CCS is just the sense of collaboration that we have across both our CCS team and the member libraries. And I just find it very refreshing to be part of such a collaborative, supportive, hardworking group. Do I get to pick who goes next? I think I will.
I had Bob next.
Ah,
I
okay.
was going in
Based on the
department
agenda,
order.
Bob, you're next.
Okay, I'm Bob Robert Barth. I'm the IT systems administrator at CCS. I've been around for quite some time. Your IT department, as far as who contacts me and for what, your IT department would contact me for Polaris/IT related issues, and the other departments would likely contact me for information, Polaris data information, and generating reports for, or that are not already provided by the system. So memorable moments. I've been around for a little over 35 years, and I was back back in the day when the libraries were still using the card catalog. I recall hearing about the last CCS library ditching or no longer producing cards. There was one holdout for many months, even though we had the catalog, the pack interface. So that was a big leap of faith, and a very cool time in the history of libraries in general. Another period in the life of CCS was the mid to late 90s, when we all heard about the internet and decided that was a great place to be. And we started ramping up to get on there and find out what we could, how we could benefit the public by being there. And then lastly, the third one was, yes, of course, the Polaris migration. I think we can all still agree that it was it is better software than we came from, than the CERSI system. So it all worked out for the best. Let's see. I don't know who you had next on your list, Rebecca.
It's me. So Bob,
Deborah.
that's
Okay,
tough.
I'm gonna
You
pick
gave
Deborah. Deborah. I'm picking Deborah.
okay. You gave 3 favorite things though, so like now I'm gonna have to level it up here. My name's Deborah Wishmeyer. I'm the Director of Member Services. So you can contact me probably, like honestly, just about anything. I have my hands on lots of pots here at CCS, from kind of those nitty-gritty Polaris setting details to higher level project happenings. So contact me about anything. Will say for this year especially, I'll be your main contact for all things Fondmore, Illinois. So I'll be working really closely with all of your CERC and ILL departments on that. So my favorite CCS memories are definitely all of our new library migrations. So it's just really exciting to add a new library to CCS and to get to work with a whole new group of staff. I will say the Morton Grove Library migration was a really special one for me because they were our first library that we added in a really long time and my first new library add. And also it was really full circle because Morton Grove was the first library I ever worked at. So that's where I got my start in the library world. So it was really cool to work with all of my old coworkers and to bring them on board. It's just like a very fuzzy, happy, wonderful project. So think that's probably my favorite, though it's hard to like compete because they were all pretty awesome. And I told Rebecca I was also gonna like be brave and share one of my worst CCS memories with the group, slash most humiliating things that ever happened to me. When I first started at CCS, I was driving out to a bunch of libraries for library visits to meet staff and get familiarized with all of our members and how things worked. And when I was at a library, they left me unsupervised for like 2 minutes. And in those 2 minutes, I managed to walk through a door that set off an emergency alarm in their children's department, which was just awful because all of these kids were like, she did it. And it was very embarrassing and still haunting me to this day. So I'm sorry, Fox River Valley still for that experience. And thank you all for not being mad at me. So yeah, those were my goods, my highs and my lows here. So I'm just being open and honest. All right, and then I think Virginia, you are next on the agenda. Ah, Karin, I see Karin said I knew it. I'm sorry, Karin.
Hi, I'm Virginia Seward. I'm the database, I guess, data services librarian here at CCS. I've been around since eons, over 20 years. I can't think of a special memory, but it's nice to see that how everything's growing, how CCS is growing. And I was came at the time when we were losing people, and it's nice to see libraries coming back, and it's nice to see how it's so robust and stuff like that. If you want to contact me, one time somebody at good old Cersei called me the authorities goddess. But I'm in charge of all the authority stuff and authorities headings and things like that, or if you have any NACO questions and things like that. I also do all the ebook loading and things and ebooks and electronic resources, loading those things like Hoopla, Hoopla, Canopy, some Access 360 and things like that. I don't know who goes after me.
We'll have Mieko and then Rachel will finish us up.
Right, thanks. Well, hi, my name is Mieko Fujira Landers. I am the Member Services Librarian for Public Services here at CCS. You should contact me for circulation or interlibrary loan related questions. I also love getting questions about searching in LEAP or using Simply Reports. I'm going to go with the best thing about working at CCS is just it's a very supportive environment, and the member library staff are just the best group of people to work with. I think it was my second or third day working at CCS. They already sent me out for a library visit to Lake Villa. I was absolutely terrified, but the Lake Villa staff were just the warmest and friendliest people, and that has been consistent throughout all of our libraries. So with that, I will pass it along to Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Fisher. I'm the Member Services Librarian for Technical Services. You can contact me on any issues related to cataloging, serials, acquisitions, Simply Reports, and the diversity audit tool. I've had quite a lot of great memories in the last 4 years that I've been working with CCS. I actually started working for CCS 2 months before the stay-at-home order. So it was a really interesting experience to be doing most of my training from home and a very odd time. However, I think that working from home really has led to some great moments and opportunities. Some of my favorite moments have been learning how to create the online courses that we created. So I really love creating the software simulations. Really a great way to practice using new software. And some of the others have been things like being able to pass the motion to allow Homosaurus in the catalog. That's really actually led to me doing a lot of presentations on CCS's usage of Homosaurus. A lot of libraries and organizations have wanted me to present for them. And also being able to launch the diversity audit tool, working with Bob on that was a lot of fun. And it's really a great tool to be able to audit the diversity of your collections and find new books or new titles to add to your collection that other libraries already have. So that's it.
Thank you, everyone. I love working with the CCS team, and I'm really excited to remind everyone that we are hiring 2 positions right now. We are hiring a member services associate who would work with the member services team on training, building those training courses that Rachel talked about, getting out to the libraries and engaging like Mieko and Deborah talked about, and providing awesome support and service like Virginia and Bob talked about. So we're hiring that position, and our user experience specialist is vacant. So we are recruiting for that as well. And in addition to recruiting for those two specific roles, we are also attending the Government Libraries, Archives, and More Career Jam coordinated by the iSchool at University of Illinois, which brings together students from 15 schools and employers across the country. I attended a career fair in person pre-COVID at the iSchool, and the students were so engaged and happy to talk. And this is a great opportunity for CCS to kind of be out there and talk about system work. And there's not a ton of public libraries registered for the event. So just to bring some more visibility to public libraries to these students, CCS has volunteered to coordinate some panels. So we are still looking for volunteers. There's information in the newsletter that went out last week, and I'll put it in the newsletter again tomorrow. We'd just be looking for 30 minutes of someone's time to talk about these, one of these different panel ideas to help students understand what it's like, you know, on a day-to-day basis working in the public libraries. So if you're interested, check out the newsletter tomorrow or look at the archive from last week to get access to that forum. And we'll send these slides out as well. Deborah, do you want to talk about one of our huge projects for this year?
Sure. So as many of you know, Governing Board voted for CCS to join Find More Illinois back at their November meeting. So if you're not familiar, Find More Illinois is a resource sharing platform currently managed by Rails, where patrons and staff can place requests on titles owned by other Find More Illinois libraries. So once we join Find More Illinois, your patrons are going to have access to over 1 million new titles with just the click of a hold button. So over the last month or two, CCS has been working with Rails, Innovative, Autographic staff, and staff at your library to get the ball moving on setup, configuration, and planning. So currently, where we're at, libraries have selected their preferred months for launching Find More Illinois, with the bulk of libraries going live between May and August of this year. So May through August 2024. Leading up to those launches, CCS will be offering training for both ILL staff and public-facing staff in a mix of virtual and in-person. So each library has an assigned project lead who's going to work closely with CCS on training and rollout. I'll be meeting with those project leads in a couple of weeks to talk about next steps. And those next steps include a few things, including picking a more specific launch date within your preferred month, getting relevant staff signed up for training opportunities, and then talking about which items should become shareable in Find More Illinois. So we'll communicate really closely with your library's project lead and share out applicable updates in CCS News, so you can keep your eyes peeled for communication both from us and from your designated staff person at your library.
Thanks, Deborah. This is a really exciting project for CCS, and I can't wait to see how it impacts both CCS communities and the rest of our Illinois library communities. Another big project we have in the works, I think everybody knows, but I'm really excited to say it again, is that we are welcoming Mount Prospect and Waukegan to CCS. On my slide here, you see we affectionately call this the Rails map. In 2019, Rails made a resource sharing map that kind of outlined all the different consortia and standalone libraries. And they haven't updated it since 2019. And as Virginia said, we've been in a period of growth. So I was furiously trying to recolor the map this morning to show our newest members. So we've got Mount Prospect and Waukegan outlined in orange there. We're really filling in that surface area. We've got some key dates to think about for this project. The schedule is still in flux, but tentatively we're looking at existing CCS members going offline on or about September 28th. and that Mount Prospect and Waukegan would go live and our libraries would come back online on or about October 1st. Mieko is leading this project for us after successfully leading the Warren Newport project. And all CCS staff are going to be engaged at various times with different staff in this project. So it's an all hands on deck situation. We've already got Mount Prospect and Waukegan staff attending meetings, and we had our project team kickoff earlier this week at the CCS office in Lincolnshire. So we're so excited to add these libraries and to continue to expand the resources our members and their communities have access to. Thank you, Mieko, for kicking off. Yeah, and Belden, MPPL is so excited. Thank you, Mieko, for getting this project off to a great start. We will keep everyone updated through CCS News. And at this point, I would say you guys know the drill on how to work with CCS through these migrations. And I'm going to pass it back to Deborah to talk to us about Innovative, specifically Vega Discover. Actually, sorry, Deborah, before you start, I've just been like charging forth ahead. Are there any questions in the chat or does anyone need to unmute about these major CCS projects before we shift to Innovative and Polaris? All right, thanks, Deborah. You can carry on.
Sally forth. All right. So I'll give a quick update on where we're at with the Vega Discover Development Partner Program, because it's been a while since we shared an update out. So yes, we are still participating in the Development Partner Program, representing Polaris Consortia Libraries. So CCS staff meet with representatives from the development team twice a month to talk about new features, get updates on our existing development blockers, and report back issues that have been identified by our team through our in-house testing. So when we first started as dev partners for Vega Discover, we worked with our members to establish development blockers. Development blockers are key pieces of functionality and features that we would need to be able to use Vega Discover in our consortia environment. So at this point, a number of our blockers have been completed. This includes things like centralized e-content management for consortia that allows every library to have their own independent, let's say, Overdrive Advantaged accounts, and Discover will filter appropriately for the patrons. They've made some significant adjustments to Discover's holds logic to make it more consortia friendly, and they fixed things like roll-up logic for some material types that were causing some issues with holds. However, we do still have several of our blockers still in development, but in progress. So this includes integration with Polaris Active Directory so that Polaris staff usernames can be assigned Vega staff permissions, a streamlined way to manage non-integrated e-content titles, and some adjustments to things like relevancy ranking to improve search results. So we've got a lot done, but still have quite a few things cooking. At this time, our plan is to complete another round of user testing. And this round of user testing will include Vega Discover, but it will also look at a few other discovery interfaces. We'll look again at PowerPack, and we'll also look at BiblioCommons and Aspen. So this is going to allow us to compare user testing results from Vega Discover to these other discovery interfaces to help us see whether, there are some significant difference in how patrons are moving through those different spaces. So this data is going to help both CCS and governing board decide next steps. So next steps could be one of several things. It could be moving forward with Vega Discover. It could be sticking with PowerPack, or it could be looking at a non-innovative discovery interface if especially those perform well in our testing. So lots of different factors are going to go into that discussion, and this user testing data is just going to be one piece of that data gathering as we figure out how to move forward with our directors. So any questions? Let's see if there's anything in the chat. Okay, then I think we can move on. I think I'm the next one too, Rebecca, but you can prove me wrong. Oh, you can prove me
Oh.
wrong. That wasn't me.
I'm proving you wrong, which is good timing because I just got a low battery warning on my headset, despite the fact that I charged it this morning. So I will do this and then I will go off camera and swap my headset. I want to talk about Leap Month, which was an initiative that Rachel Fisher planned in coordination with Deborah and Kathleen prior to her departure from CCS. Rachel knew that we needed some solid feedback about using Leap for technical services functions. Leap has been under development since our joining Polaris, or since our implementing Polaris, and still doesn't have all of the features that are in the staff client, but more and more of the technical services features are available in Leap. And so there's a lot of questions about, is CCS going to move to Leap for technical services? Do we give libraries the options? How do we want to move forward? And we wanted to get some good, solid feedback from the folks that would be impacted by any sort of decision, and to be able to provide feedback to Innovative. So Rachel developed a series of activities, which culminated in a user kind of research activity at the cataloging and metadata management meeting, and wrote a very comprehensive report that I was delighted to read. And I want to share my five of my takeaways, although there were many more in the report. And I don't think a lot of these are surprises, but I think that they're always worth reiterating. So I want to start with, and these are in no particular order, but number one, the technical services staff are, a mixed group that don't have the same opinions across everything. So what was praised by some staff in various parts of this activity was critiqued by others, which just goes to show, like all UX design, there are complexities, and that Innovative is making choices all the time on whether they're designing for the most common workflow or whether they are trying to put in as many complicated options as they can so that staff can make kind of custom choices step by step. So, I think a lot of times we say like, oh, it's not ready for the catalogers, or it's not ready for acquisitions, or it's not ready for serials. But everybody has different workflows and everybody has different preferences. So it may not be ready for everybody, but it also might be ready for some folks. So again, just always a good reminder that we've all got different needs, and that applies to our software as well. My second takeaway is that the feedback we heard is that Leap's general usability is excellent, which reinforces what CCS staff have experienced and what we've seen from our public services staff across libraries. Overall, and again, this is overall, not everything, readability, navigating through the various tabs of the bib records, how the editable item fields are set up. In general, Leap's design is clean and easy to use and fairly intuitive. That said, item number 3 here is that the volume of work that our cataloging and technical services staff do means that efficiency is key. And the software needs to be able to support efficient cataloging workflows, which could vary library to library. And really, there's some work left to do in terms of reducing how many clicks of the mouse are needed to do tasks. Label printing was really called out as an area that was particularly inefficient in Leap. So through this activity, Rachel was able to gather some very specific feedback on where efficiency was really lacking, and reinforce how important it is for our technical services staff. My number 4 takeaway is one of my favorites because we've been talking about this, I think, since, I mean, it's my favorite, but also I guess my least favorite because of this. We've been talking about this since we went live on Polaris. The find tool in Leap is really powerful and has really awesome options for filtering. And then it clears your filters every time you close the find tool. So we know our public services staff are really leaning into power searching and saved searches to help get around this, and we'll continue to advocate for options for staff to save their filters and to make it easier to get back to the previous search they've just completed instead of having to start a search over every time that find tool closes. And my big number 5 takeaway is that Leap Month was really effective. We're always trying to gather feedback from our library staff. You are all the ones who are in the software every day doing these workflows over and over, and who are impacted by development and change more than CCS staff for sure, and more than a lot of patrons in some cases. And it's hard to get clear feedback for a lot of reasons. Change is hard, and we're used to doing things a certain way, and it's hard to envision doing them in a new way or a new interface. And so I was really impressed with Rachel's development of this whole process and the opportunities for engagement that she developed for library staff. And I'm so impressed by library staff really taking this as an opportunity to dig into this new interface or new to them interface, and spend time articulating what is working well and where there are opportunities for growth and where there are problems with the software. So I really appreciate all the time that library staff put into partnering with Rachel on this. And I know that she's sent this feedback on to Innovative, and we'll continue to talk about it with them and do what we can to advocate for improvements that were identified by library staff participating. So thank you, library staff, for your work on this. Thank you, Rachel, for your work on this. And I really look forward to seeing the development of Leap continue. I think there's been some great strides, and I know that there's still a lot of work to do. And I just want to reiterate that CCS will not be forcing anyone off of the staff client or taking away tools before there is a really solid, useful, efficient tool to replace them. We want to make your lives easier, not harder. So again, thanks for your work in moving forward with that. And I'm going to turn it over to Deborah and address my headset situation.
Sounds good, Rebecca. So next month, CCS is going to upgrade our database to Polaris 7.5, the next release of the Polaris software. That is currently scheduled for at 10 p.m. And I think February 26th, that's a Monday. So mark your calendars for the date. Rachel will be sharing out more information and reminders about the upgrade as we get closer to late February. So how are we prepping for that upgrade? Over the last, I'd say probably 2 or 3 months, CCS staff have been getting ready for that production launch. So every time a new Polaris software version is released, CCS staff, we have just this whole long process that we follow to prepare ourselves internally and then all of you for an upgrade. So first step is CCS, our team read through that entire What's New document and identified all of the new features in 7.5 that are applicable to CCS. So those features were then thoroughly discussed and tested internally. And we identified bugs, issues, questions, and reported those on to Innovative. So after we familiarized ourselves with the new features, our team then had lots of internal discussions on whether the new features and pieces of functionality need to go to a CCS group for approval based on our decision-making matrix. So, questions that we talk about when we're deciding whether we want to enable or a new feature or not include, will we require all staff to use a new feature? Will the new feature require a workflow change for members? Will a feature require a policy change? And so on. So those are just some of the questions that we talk about as we're figuring out new steps for these new tools. Once we have those internal discussions, relevant features are brought to a corresponding advisory or technical group for discussion and decision making as needed. So for 7.5, an example of that is the new damaged item workflow that's going to be introduced. So Mieko has brought that item to the CERC ILL advisory group, issued a recommendation on how to move forward, and next that's going to go to the circulation technical group for final approval. So again, we do that with all of the relevant features, and depending on what the tool is, kind of that workflow varies on who it goes to. So for all of the features that are going to be released, we create documentation or we update our existing documentation and training materials. And then, we're all ready to roll when that upgrade date comes along. So that's kind of a look behind the scenes at the work that we complete on our end leading up to an upgrade. As you can see, we do prep for a couple months before we're actually ready to use the new software. So I think we have a really thoughtful and thorough process that helps us prepare internally and then helps prepare all of you as well. So again, mark your calendar for February 26th. If you're interested to see what new features are coming, I'm going to pop a link into the chat for the What's New documentation.
Thanks, Deborah. I just want to reiterate something that Deborah said, which is that all of these new features are taken to technical groups and advisory groups for discussion. So that's one of the many reasons that we really encourage libraries to make sure that they're represented at these meetings, to have a voice in how these new features are used, if they are used. And Deborah will talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. I want to pause again here for questions. That wraps up our section on innovative and Polaris news. So I'm going to pause for questions before we move on to CCS training and events. Okay, then I am going to advance the slide and turn it over to Mieko to talk to us about our 2023 year in review of training.
Thanks. Yeah. So one of our big services is providing ILS training to our member libraries. So we not only provide live training through like in-person sessions and virtual webinars, but we've also built structured online training courses and have a YouTube channel that is full of short how-to videos and webinar recordings that staff can access on demand. And so we're very happy to see that our member libraries take advantage of these training services. So in 2023, we held 10 training sessions for members, along with 21 consultation sessions. And these sessions will include things like new manager orientations or like a workflow consultation. In 2023, member services staff also gave 4 presentations at national and regional conferences. And we had a total of 472 attendees at our live sessions. Go ahead and slide. Thanks, Rebecca. In addition to our training for member libraries, as you all know from what Rebecca mentioned earlier, Warren Newport joined CCS last year. So we also led training for Warren Newport staff. Migration training included 21 live training sessions and 10 consultations. And there were a total of 213 attendees throughout all of these sessions. Go ahead and advance. And as I mentioned before, we also offer online training courses. So we currently have 25 formal courses available to anyone who wants to learn, whether you are new to CCS and Polaris, or if you just want to like review and reinforce your existing knowledge. So last year, our training courses saw 2,236 users log a total of 4,461 sessions. Most of these courses have an optional quiz at the end that staff can take to assess what they've learned. And so last year, staff submitted 518 quizzes. And I am a sucker for a top 5 list. So here are the top 5 courses by user count. So our most popular online course last year was the introduction course, right? The introduction to Polaris and Leap. The circulation functions in Leap. We had the introduction to searching in Leap, hold and hold applications in Leap, and the introduction to Simply Reports course. And one really cool thing about these online courses is that you do not have to be in a specific geographical location to attend or take the course. So staff from Polaris libraries all over the country used our online courses last year, including people from Phoenix, Columbus, Ohio, New Orleans, and Salt Lake City. So if we want to see where the largest number of users come from, we saw the most users from these cities: Northbrook, McHenry, Gurnee, Grays Lake, and our neighbors to the east, Chicago. And then finally, we also have a short YouTube, our short how-to videos on YouTube, along with like recordings of webinars. And so last year, the videos on our channel had 9,156 views with a total watch time of 787 hours. And here you'll see the top 5 most popular videos on our website last year. We have a couple migration related videos, right? So we have the go live review and offline demo that we gave shortly before Warren Newport came online with us. We will do the same type of webinar this year before Mount Prospect and Waukegan come live. We have Warren Newport's Welcome to CCS webinar we hosted for their staff as a migration training kickoff. A couple webinar recordings, which are recordings of the Simply Statistics and the Find More Illinois webinar. So if you want to kind of see what the Find More Illinois project is going to be all about, I strongly encourage you to check out that webinar. And then the video that always seems to come out on top, which is the Introduction to Leap and Polaris how-to video. So with that, just thank you all for engaging with our trainings and training materials. I can definitely say it's one of my favorite parts. I think for my colleagues, it's one of their favorite parts as well, of working with all of you. And we're definitely looking forward to our 2024 sessions.
Thank you, Mieko. And let's talk some more about engagement. Deborah, can you tell us about the work you're doing in this area?
Happy to. I'll say I'm excited to see that Find More Illinois webinar creeping up into the top 5 for last year. That was a later one, so I hope that means everyone's really excited about that project. So I do want to talk a little bit about some work we're doing around member engagement. So we're doing kind of a deep dive into member engagement as we're looking to just improve and evolve all of the services that we offer to all of you. So I've spent the last month or two looking at data around technical and advisory group and training session attendance with the end goal of making our meeting and training offerings more meaningful and more beneficial for all of our members. So in the next month, as part of this data gathering process, look for a new engagement survey to be shared out via CCS News. So this survey can be completed by all of your staff members, and it's going to touch on items like, why do you or don't you attend technical group meetings? What are the barriers that you're encountering when trying to attend meetings? Do you like in-person or virtual training sessions? And what training opportunities are you looking for? So it'll be kind of thorough, touching on sort of all aspects of the services that we provide. So once that survey goes out, we're still working on it. Please complete it, answer honestly, answer openly, give us your feedback, and make sure that you share it out with your team, share it out with your coworkers, so that we can really get a good response rate, gather some good data, and then that will help us shape our services for fiscal 2025, and maybe make some adjustments to what we're offering. So again, I'm hoping to get that survey out to all of you in the next month. So look for it. We'll share it via CCS News, and we can share it out to the listservs as well. That way we try to get it out to as many people as we can. So we really want to just make sure our services are meeting your needs, and we really want your feedback on how we can just make things work a little better for you.
Can't wait. As noted earlier, in the Leap Month section, I truly love getting feedback from member libraries. So I can't wait to see what comes back. And I don't like a meeting for the sake of a meeting. So anything we can do to make them more productive is awesome. We do have training slated for the immediate future, and I'm going to ask Rachel to talk to us more about that and that process.
Our next training sessions will be on Simply Reports for patron accounts and Simply Reports for cataloging and serials in February. These sessions will be in person at the CCS office. You can register for the sessions on L2. The links are on the slide. We haven't scheduled the Find More Illinois training yet, but you will see an announcement for that soon. The sessions will be a mixture of online webinars and in-person sessions at the CCS office. We are also in the planning stages for SQL training with Matt Hammermeister of Pinnacle and the Polaris 7.5 upgrade training sessions. You can watch for updates on training sessions in the CCS newsletter, the listservs, and the CCS website. If you are not receiving the newsletter, you can sign up for it on the CCS website at the bottom of the screen. We create training schedules on a quarterly basis. Ideas for the training schedule come from the plans for Polaris upgrades, suggestions via the training surveys, and help desk tickets. If you have a suggestion for a training session that you'd like to see, please let us know by contacting us at the help desk. You can send an email to help@ccslib.org. And if you'd like us to visit your library personally for a training session at your library, we are happy to do that. Since we don't have to stay home anymore, we can schedule in-person trainings at your library. And that's it.
Yeah, library visits are always a highlight for CCS staff. So please don't hesitate to say that you'd like to schedule a group training at your library. We've done staff in-service days, like a management team meeting or a department meeting. You're getting a lot of questions about reports. I know we've done Simply Reports trainings out at individual libraries for various groups. I promise Deborah won't set off any alarms in your library. She's learned her lesson. But I see Simply Reports training at Northbrook. I just had the pleasure of doing a whole slew of new director orientations, and it was great to be out in the libraries, seeing what's new. Anytime I get to go out to a library, I'm excited. So I know that's true for our member services staff as well. Do you also come talk at library board meetings to help them understand what CCS is all about? Sure. Most of our library board meeting visits have been for new libraries as they're going through a decision-making process. But CCS staff, I am here to help support libraries and their boards and communities however I can. So that would certainly be something we'd be willing to do. That is what we had on our agenda today. We have a few minutes left for questions, and I have a little summary here of the key dates that we talked about from our hiring, our target date for UX testing, which is going to be dependent on our hiring, our Find More Illinois Go Lives that Deborah mentioned. We've got slated over 4 months for this year, and our planned go live for Mount Prospect and Waukegan. So we're really excited about the work we've got slated for this year. And again, this is a snippet And we're really excited to be working with everyone and welcoming more libraries and being 50. Any questions from the group, CCS staff? Anything you want to add? All right, well, I will loiter here in the meeting in case anything comes up, but that is everything we have to share with you today. Thank you so much for coming to our virtual meeting and making time to talk about CCS this morning. Yes, I will share the slides. I will put them in the newsletter tomorrow, and I will email them to the registrants on L2. So if you're registered, you'll get the slides, and we'll put them in the newsletter. Good question. Thank you.
And Tim, we'll be in touch about party planning. Can't wait for that big bash you're gonna throw for CCS.
I think, Deborah, that will be the culmination of your Ready Player One super mega scavenger hunt trivia challenge.
Yes, that's the ultimate goal. And if any libraries want to help me with that, let me know.
Tim's ready.
Heck yeah,
Yes,
food truck?
we are recording the meeting. We'll post the recording on our YouTube and share the link in the newsletter as well.
We can cut out my most humiliating story, though. That was only for live attendees. It doesn't need to live on the internet.
It's the thumbnail. I guess that doesn't make sense, but all right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
I really didn't think we would talk for 50 minutes, but we did.
We did. We were over. We pulled it back. I'm still recording.